Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Jamaica News in Review. 19-year-old held after 52-year-old woman is shot dead. Police say they have arrested and charged a man in connection with the murder of a 52-year-old woman and the injuring of two men at their home in April. The victim, Andrea Mitchell Young, of Mansfield Avenue, Homestead in St. Catherine, was at her home when men armed kicked in the door to the house and opened fire, hitting occupants several times. The injured were rushed to hospital, where Young was pronounced dead, and two men also injured in the attack were admitted. Police said a probe was launched, and a 19-year-old man was held several weeks later. After a question and answer session, the man, identified as Eric Garden of Stewborough Avenue, Homestead in St. Catherine, was charged with murder, illegal possession of firearmed ammunition, and 2 counts of wounding with intent. Police say Garden was accosted on April 9 by the police and placed in custody. He was later identified by the eyewitness and was subsequently charged after a question and answer session in the presence of his attorney. His court date is being finalized. Trelawney painter charged with killing a carpenter. The police in Trelawney have charged a 38-year-old painter with murder and illegal possession of firearm and ammunition in connection with the death of a carpenter from his community of Bottom Town, Clarkstown in the parish. The carpenter, 41-year-old Moses Garden, was shot dead at his home in Bottom Town on April 29. The accused painter is Orville Brown, otherwise called Hackley. Reports from the police are that about 11:16 p.m., Garden was at home with relatives when two men wearing masks kicked in his door and entered the house. One of the men brandished a handgun and fired several shots, hitting Garden in the upper body. The attackers reportedly escaped on foot. Garden was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. Brown was subsequently arrested and charged after a question and answer session. His court date is being finalized. Cop fires warning shots after shuffle at Westmoreland protest. 2 warning shots fired in the air by an off-duty cop held quite a brawl that broke out among residents of the parish on Monday after accusations that a day-long protest had been politically motivated. The protest, which began about 6 a.m., was staged to call attention to the shoddy roads on the road from Whitthorn to Darliston, which residents said have frustrated them for years. Shortly before 4 p.m., one resident remarked that the day's protesters had not taken action when the Member of Parliament for the area was aligned to the opposite People's National Party, though the roads were in poor state then. Stones, a power saw, and a machete came into play as the individual who made the comment was set upon by some of the angry mob. He had to be rescued by the out-of-uniform lawman. Some individuals in the scuffle were escorted to Darliston Police Station. Others had made themselves scarce as stones flew through the air. After the scuffle, Member of Parliament for Westmoreland Eastern Daniel Lawrence told reporters that the constituency is plagued by shoddy roads and poor drainage. The residents are really frustrated. They have reached a breaking point when they can't take it to the street, he said. While we would have preferred that there has been no protest, he said, he was of the view that residents believe this line of action will yield positive results. He assured them the roads will eventually be fixed. However, he stressed that only patching will be done in the near future. He asked them to be patient. Woman killed as gunmen attack mourners at Meadows. A woman was killed and at least 3 other persons injured this afternoon after gunmen attacked a group of funeral attendees at the Meadows Memorial Gardens in St. Catherine. The funeral party was reportedly trailed from Kingston and attacked while at the burial. The incident happened about 1 p.m. Eyewitnesses say multiple rounds were discharged by the gunmen in the direction of the attendees. The police say the woman was pronounced dead at hospital. The condition of the injured persons is not immediately known. Barney shot and killed in downtown Kingston. A man was shot and killed at the intersection of Orange Street and North Street in downtown Kingston by unknown assailants on Tuesday. The deceased has been identified as 40-year-old Michael Wisdom, otherwise known as Barney. On Friday night, 3 men were shot and injured on East Street, downtown Kingston. The Central Police are investigating. Motorcyclists shot dead on Hackley Park Road, Pilland injured. A motorcyclist was shot dead while his pilot was injured during an incident on Hackley Park Road in St. Andrew Tuesday afternoon. Reports are that approximately 2 p.m., the two men went to purchase auto parts at an auto parts store in the area when they were attacked by gunmen. The biker died on the spot while the pilot has been hospitalized. The St. Andrew South police were on the scene. Motorists were advised to use alternative routes during that time. Firefighters stage protests outside Labour Ministry. Firefighters are demonstrating outside the Ministry of Labour and Social Security at the National Hero Circle in Kingston. The small group of placard-bearing firefighters are protesting against alleged poor staff welfare at the Jamaica Fire Brigade. It's the latest in a wave of protests among civil servants since last week, following demonstrations by members of the National Water Commission, air traffic controllers, and National Housing Trust. Kingston man killed in suspected reprisal for schoolboy's murder. 40-year-old Barney was shot dead by unknown assailants in the vicinity of Luke Lane and North Street in downtown Kingston yesterday afternoon. Investigators from the Kingston Central Police Division suspect the shooting was a direct reprisal for the recent killing of 18-year-old schoolboy footballer Omar Leng. Wisdom, who was from Luke Lane address, was reportedly shot at least 10 times. The police believe the killings are linked to an ongoing feud involving gangsters from Hannahtown and Middle and Upper Luke Lanes over the illegal usage of a car park across from Kingston Public Hospital. Several roadways in the vicinity of the shooting have been cornered off and traffic was diverted. Leng, who was a student at the St. Andrew Technical High School, was shot and killed on his birthday last month. Bar owner survives vicious machete attack in Hanover. 26-year-old Rashawn Lewis of Copes District, Hanover, has been charged with wounding with intent arising from an incident in Copes District on Friday, May 6. Reports from the Rambo police are that about 6 a.m., Lewis was at a bar and he and the owner of the bar got into a dispute. During the dispute, Lewis reportedly left and returned with a machete, which he used to chop the bar owner several times. The police were summoned, and the injured man was taken to hospital where he was admitted for treatment. On Friday, May 13, Lewis was arrested and charged. His court date is being finalized. PEP students promise exam glory to honor late teacher. 6th graders at a corporate area school have pledged to honor their late teacher with exam success in the primary exit program PEP. Carlos Gordon, who taught at One Way Prep in St. Andrew, died in hospital last Wednesday after a sudden heart attack. He was 37. Gordon, who was one of 3 teachers nationally who died suddenly in 72 hours, had struggled with an undisclosed illness. His peers said he had been hospitalized for weeks. Dr. Glenroy Fagan, Senior Director of Corporate Services at One Way, described his former colleague as a kind-hearted person who had an impact on many lives, even those who were not directly under his supervision. Students who sat the first round of PEP exams while Gordon was in the hospital were unduly affected because they had expectations that their teacher would return to the classroom. So for the exam, they would have done their best. Some of them said that we need to make him proud. However, upon hearing that he died, they still continue to say we need to make him proud, Fagan said. Adra Fowler, principal of the prep department, said that the late teacher was proactive and had a special talent for engaging students. Gordon, who was from St. Thomas, was very close to his siblings, administrators said. Since I came and met Mr. Gordon, we have had a good rapport. He is like that, jovial, very friendly. Once you ask him to do something, he will do it. He takes criticism well, he is very dedicated, and he wants what's best for the children. Gordon was employed to One Way since 2006 and specialized in teaching of mathematics and science. One of Gordon's colleagues, Magdalene, said Gordon always made time for everyone. Anyone who is in trouble or wanted to go somewhere, he made himself available. He's just the type of person who never say no, Magdalene stated. She remembers the exceptional assistance offered by Gordon when her husband was in the hospital. That help came in the form of transportation or just being there, she said. Magdalene cherishes memory of Gordon, tying the shoes lace for the special graduation booth she could not execute herself. She also remembers how full of life he was as a teacher's day trip in Negril a year ago, exercising on the beach and taking pictures. Nicola Pinnock, vice principal, recalled the late teacher as adventurous and personable. He had other things working on and promised that I would get them Monday when he come back to school. That was it. He has been in the hospital since, and that was it for us, Pinnock said at their last communication. Students and teachers had gone grief counseling sessions, with past students and parents chipping in to ease the trauma. Other parents, from kinder to prep, would have been familiar with Mr. Garden, Fagan stated. Manchester man pleads guilty to manslaughter in shooting death of woman over case. A former Manchester delivery supervisor who shot and killed a 24-year-old woman he said disrespected him after allowing another man to kiss her has pleaded guilty to manslaughter. Andre Brumfield entered the plea when he appeared before the Manchester Circuit Court yesterday. He was initially charged with murder following the incident at the Mastermark supermarket in the parish 2 years ago. Sentencing is set for Tuesday, May 31st. It is reported that on December 31, 2019, Chanel White, who was employed at the supermarket as an inventory clerk, along with Bromfield and others who were in the lunchroom when she was greeted by another male colleague who kissed her on the cheek. Following a statement reportedly made by White that the kiss should have been on her lips, Bromfield, in a bout of rage, reportedly got up from his chair, pulled his licensed firearm from his waist and shot the woman. He then ran from the room. White sustained a cranial cerebral injury from multiple gunshot wounds to the face, according to medical records provided to the court. Bromfield, who surrendered to the police on January 1, 2020, and was subsequently charged with 1 count of illegal possession of firearm and 1 count of murder, pleaded not guilty to both counts. The court later reduced the murder charge to manslaughter after Bromfield indicated in his caution statement that he was provoked by White. "Me take up this girl and give her everything. Build her a 2-bedroom house. Pay off all her credit card and me realize say she have another man. Me see this youth I kiss her up and me talk to her and she had diss me up. Me just snap." With a reduced charge, Bromfield's attorney, Norman Godfrey, sought to find out the sentencing indicator. However, presiding judge Lorna Shelley Williams said she would be following the sentencing guidelines for the offense. JDF Sergeant slapped with murder charge. Jamaica Defense Force JDF Sergeant Tifalos Tracy has been charged with murder and illegal possession of firearm following the discovery of a dead woman in his vehicle on February 26. The charges were confirmed by his attorney-at-law Peter Champagny earlier yesterday in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court. Tracy is to appear before the gun court on Thursday, May 19. He was previously charged with failure to hand over his firearm to police officers during the investigation into the circumstances surrounding the discovery of the dead woman in his car, in which he was offered a $300,000 bail. Tracy is to return to court on July 28 for mention of this charge. Tracy's bail conditions include the surrender of his travel documents, reporting to the nearest police station on Tuesdays and Thursdays between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. He is to reside at the Clarendon address listed on file, and a stop order was made. In relation to his earlier charge of failure to hand over his firearm to police officers, Tracy was made the subject of an identification parade. However, Champagny confirmed that even though arrangements were made to have Tracy participate in this parade on May 5th, 6th, 9th, and 13th, this was not done. The St. Andrew Central Police had reported that about 4:20 a.m. on Saturday, February 26, lawmen responded to an assignment of a motor vehicle collision. On arrival of the team, a grey Honda Fit motor car was seen with a woman's body protruding from the front passenger seat. The body was reported to have multiple gunshot wounds. Police said the deceased, who is still unidentified, appeared to be in her late 30s, is about 5 feet long, and has a skin tone that shows evidence of bleaching. It was clad in a black blouse, purple sweatpants, and 1 foot of black and red Nike sneakers. Investigations that followed revealed that the motor car belonged to the JDF sergeant, who is also a licensed firearm holder. He was located and taken into custody. Government monitoring 5th wave of COVID-19, says Prime Minister. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the government is closely monitoring the coronavirus COVID-19 situation in the country and will take appropriate action if needed. Clearly, if our monitoring shows that we need to take certain preventative actions, we will very quickly and very rapidly mobilize. We have never demobilized. We are still prepared and ready to act, he said. According to a release, Holness, who was speaking at the official handover of the Port Royal Street Coastal Revetment Project in downtown Kingston on Wednesday, May 18, urged citizens to remain vigilant and alert as the country is now experiencing the fifth wave of the pandemic. I believe the Ministry of Health and Wellness would have alerted the nation that we are in the fifth wave, as we had always expected. But what we have observed is that citizens may have become complacent, believing that the pandemic is at an end, he said. The Prime Minister stressed that the government never declared that the pandemic was over, but that it was the endemic phase, meaning that we are going to have to learn to live with this thing. It will come over and over and over again. What is happening now is that we're seeing increased infections being detected as we go back to our full operations, including going back to school. So we are encouraging all Jamaicans to protect yourself. We know the public health protocols now, he said. The Prime Minister stressed that it is now the personal responsibility of every citizen to protect themselves, to urge persons to continue to follow the health protocols to reduce the risk of infection. Wear your mask, sanitize your hands regularly. If you are ill, stay at home. If you don't have to go out, then don't. Be careful of how you move around in crowds. Just be very conscious of your environment, he warned. KSAMC resolution points to the shortage of public parking facilities in halfway tree crossroads. A resolution passed at last Tuesday's Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation Council meeting has highlighted the acute shortage of public parking facilities in halfway tree and crossroads in St. Andrew and has urged the KSAMC to play an active role in solving the problem. The resolution urged the corporation to identify properties in halfway tree and crossroads where public parking facility can be established and partner with public and private sector investors to develop such facilities. The resolution said that the KSAMC should engage the services of the Development Bank of Jamaica or other such entity with a view to establishing partnership with potential investors in the public or private sector to help with developing such facilities. Pointing to the traffic congestion in halfway tree during business hours, the resolution moved by People's National Party PNP Councillor Neville Wright, Trenchtown Division, stated that neither the parish court in halfway tree, which deals with a significant number of criminal matters, nor the Passport, Citizenship and Immigration Agency, head office on the Constant Spring Road, will attract clients from across the island has adequate parking facilities. Wright suggested that a parking facility with several floors should be developed at the Constant Spring Arcade. He also said that lots owned by the KSAMC at the Hackley Park Plaza should be used for parking. White said that the KSAMC also owns property in crossroads that could be repurposed for parking. He suggested that the corporation enter into an agreement with the Palace Amusement Company to enable its parking facility in crossroads to be used for public parking during the daytime. Jamaica Labour Party Councillor Carrie Douglas, Trafalgar Park Division, said the resolution was timely and that greater partnership was needed between the municipality and central government to tackle the problem. JLP Councillor Donovan Samuels, Tivoli Division, who seconded the resolution, said that creative solutions were needed to solve the parking problem. According to PNP Councillor Eugene Kelly, Whitfield Town Division KSAMC investments in public parking facilities could help to improve the income stream of the corporation. Meanwhile, JLP Councillor Vernon MacLeod, Havendale Division, believes the Constant Spring Mall is underutilized. We need to sit down and make plans for the car parks, he said. For Andrew Swaby, PNP Minority Leader, Vineyard Town Division, churches should be part of any discussion as they own significant amounts of property in halfway tree and crossroads that could be used for public parking. He mentioned that the Anglican Church owns property in crossroads where the St. Luke's Church and the Nuttall Hospital near located, and the St. Andrew Parish Church in Halfway Tree. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.